For the past few decades, Square Enix has been the proud owners of the Tomb Raiders and the Deus Ex series, but recently, Theory has been purchased by a company that has a new direction to take both of these games in, that some of the people are excited for, and others are not looking forward to. What they're not looking forward to is the potential overflow of unwanted content. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the acquisition and what it could mean for both of these franchises. First up, who bought the company and why? I'm sure most of you watching this video have been avid gamers for a long time now, which probably means that you've played the entirety of both Deus Ex trilogy and the Tomb Raider collection of games. While all of them have been, at the very least, solid games, the handling of both of these franchises has been less than ideal, to say the least. For example, the Deus Ex trilogy, while quite good, was spread out for far too long, allowing players to completely lose interest in the games, waiting for the next title to come out. And in terms of the Tomb Raider franchise, they just quite simply failed to deliver the amount of content that could have been delivered in the time in which they've, had the license to the character. I mean, seriously, they haven't released a new game since 2018, and they've simply been relying on remasters and game bundles to keep sales numbers high and to keep players on board until they've mustered up the ability to make a new game. If you ask me, that's totally bogus, and you're creating a remaster of the same game to simply make your fans happy instead of actually, putting in the new work to make a new game is ridiculous, and it just shouldn't be allowed to happen, and yet it's sometimes, actually, every year it seems to happen. Looking at you, Bethesda and Rockstar Games, seriously, looking at you, crazy enough, I don't want to buy Elder Scrolls V Skyrim again. I know, I already bought it the first 4 times. The same goes for Grand Theft Auto 5. I bought the same game on 3 different systems. Just give me GTA 6 already, alright? Well, as bad as these companies have been, Square Enix is no better, especially with these 2 games, but yeah, it seems like their new owners, the Embracer Group, is going to be changing all of that very soon. Next up, the company is ecstatic to take these new games to new heights under their watchful eye. In the company's latest investment call, they basically revealed that fans of the games have been flooding their emails and social media pages with positive feedback on the purchase, which has given the company new life to pursue new avenues with these games. Apparently, due to the overwhelming and positive response, the company is ready to make and release as many titles as they possibly can with these titles, as they see these titles as having great potential. I mean, you could say that again. These games are well known in the gaming community, and when it comes to Tomb Raider, it is of course a well-known franchise despite the lack of video games in the recent years. Of course, there are the original games as well as the films that have allowed for the franchise to become one of the most beloved and recognizable among movie lovers and video game fans alike. I mean, I'm no businessman, but I know that a franchise as large as this one essentially spells instant money, and the fact that Square Enix couldn't see that, that's just astonishing. That's bad. Luckily for all of us, the Embracer Group sees the cash grab that this can be, and they're willing to release as many games as they possibly can with both of these franchises, which could change the course of gaming over the next few years. How these games can change the face of modern gaming. Once again, I am sure most of you watching this have probably played at least one of the games in either of these franchises, but in case you haven't, allow me to let you in on a little secret. These franchises are absolutely huge in the gaming community, so much so that they constantly sell, or like every time they make a new version, they sell millions of copies every time they release. They continue to have great numbers even after their time in the sun is well over. In the instance of Tomb Raider, the franchise is so huge that Netflix has already picked up a few episodes of an animated show that's going to share the name. Now, we don't have many details about the show yet, other than the fact that it's going to follow the adventures of Lara Croft and be animated, but what it does mean is that streaming giants like Netflix are starting to see the amount of new viewers they can bring in if they make shows based on video game franchises. I mean, look at The Witcher, Halo, the upcoming Last of Us, the God of War series. All huge success, or the highly anticipated shows that will undoubtedly bring in millions of viewers who've played the games and are excited to see their stories told again in a new medium. The same is definitely going to go for the Tomb Raider franchise, as a TV show based around Lara Croft is definitely going to do 2 things. One is going to bring in millions of viewers to the world of Tomb Raider, which is definitely, that'll bring some more popularity to the character and to the show. But it's also going to bring people into the games, as people who have watched the show but have never played the games. Those kinds of people are likely going to want to get into the games after they've seen the characters in the show, or if they've fallen in love with a character. Furthermore, it'll bring people who have both played the games and watched the show back into the fandom, making them want more, which will of course force the hand of the makers, which in this case is of course the Embracer Group, into making as many games as they can, because they know it'll keep the fans entertained and keep this story going for as long as it possibly can go. Deus Ex can do the same thing, but in a totally different way. Tomb Raider is obviously bigger outside of the video game world than Deus Ex is, but that doesn't mean that it won't be just as influential if it were to be continued by the Embracer Group. These games, if you don't already know, are primarily RPG FPS games that promote the ideas of player interaction and exploration, which is the main reason as to why they have such an amazing following. The games are super unique, and they allow the player to do pretty much whatever they want in a seemingly endless world. The games have an amazing story set in the future that honestly do everything they can to make you genuinely forget that you are playing a video game instead of a future simulator. If these games were to come back on the market with a developer that actually cares about the fan base, then they could drastically shift the tone of mainstream gaming from FPSs and battle royales back to single-player and action exploration games. Not only that, but the game's world, tone, and story would make amazing TV shows, and one of the major streaming networks would definitely take advantage if they chose to do that. If the Embracer Group is willing, that they could make an entire new trilogy with these games, and they could absolutely make one of the best shows on TV if they have the right director, the right showrunner, and the right acting team. The possibilities with these games they're just truly endless. And while that sounds like an exciting opportunity to most, it does sound like a huge margin for error to other fans of the franchise. And honestly, they might be right. Should we be worried about a franchise bloat? For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term franchise bloat, let me explain it. It's essentially when a franchise simply tries to do too much and fills the game with too much unnecessary content in an attempt to entertain the fan base. But instead of giving the fans what they want, they end up creating so much content that fans don't want. Instead, it ends up turning the fans away from the franchise. This happened to pretty much all of the EA Sports games, all of the Call of Duty games, and fans are worried that the good intentions of the Embracer Group, that what they might have, it might actually result in too much content too quickly, not letting fans fully experience any of the new stuff that comes out, or the demand that causes developers to put out sloppy content in an attempt to manage the overwhelming desire for content. Making all of the new games bad, resulting in a failed reboot of the franchise, yeah, it's a slippery slope, but hopefully they can properly climb it and deliver some of the best games in both franchises. That's all we got for you guys today on the channel. Thanks all so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you on the next one.